morning and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Camnet Breakfast Show. Today being the 31st of August 2023. Interesting enough, this is where we have to wind up the month of August. And we are going to be introduced to the month of September as of tomorrow. And look, I'm talking about, as we conclude the month of September, interesting month of August rather, interesting issues will be unfolding as of today. Interesting, I'm not alone. I'm Patrick Soko, and my co-host for the Thursday edition of the Camnet Breakfast Show is Mako Kwakozi. Good morning. How is it going?
Morning, Patrick. Everything is okay. I feel happy. The positive energy has borrowed from Miriam, and I feel that it has been a positive week. And one thing is that the past few days have been a little bit cold than expected. So the last 2 weeks we were talking about the weather changing. It's beginning to get hot. It's beginning to get hot, but now we are now saying it's getting cold. So weather is fluctuating or it's changing, and I'm excited and to note that Green Buffalo's women's football team did pick up a draw yesterday in their opening match against Abduction. It's encouraging to start on that. I think it's a positive note. You start on a positive note, and there are very interesting stories that we're going to be looking at when we come to that particular segment. Stories that are making the headlines. It's a good thing, and also today being a Thursday, we are looking forward to the weekend. A lot of games that are coming through also over the weekend, so it's a fully packed show.
Indeed. Now, to just get started, first of all, let's just go straight into the health corner, and we'll be back shortly. Keep it on Camnet TV.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Manga Nalowe. I'm a medical doctor, and I'm with the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. For the past 3 days, we've been discussing a very important topic, which is cholera. It's important to us now because on the news we've been hearing so much about it, and so I've been trying to explain more about it so that everyone can know what exactly is this disease. So on the first day, we talked about what cholera is and what it does to the body. And on the second day, we talked about how to prevent cholera. Yesterday, we talked about the signs and symptoms of cholera. And today, we'll talk about the treatment of cholera. So yesterday, I talked about how when you notice the signs and symptoms that we talked about, the diarrhea, the vomiting, which is rice water-like, and any seizures, coma, anything, even in the babies, it's important that you rush to the nearest medical hospital. And so at the hospital, they're going to run tests. Firstly, it's important to state that just based on your signs and symptoms, it's easy to make a diagnosis of cholera. So treatment can also start from just you telling your doctor about your signs and symptoms and them knowing that it's cholera. But then also, there are certain lab tests, like on your stool, that would be done at the hospital for them to confirm that you have this disease. And then treatment would be based on that clinical and the lab diagnosis. So treatment of cholera is, in the hospital is very easy. Mostly it's based on fluid replacement. We talked already about how when the poison is in the intestines, it causes you to release large amounts of fluids and electrolytes through vomiting and diarrhea. And so treatment is going to be based on those two things. So our first treatment is through fluid replacement. And this fluid replacement is done based on the level of dehydration that the person has. So if a person is able to drink on their own, we'll be able to give them ORS, which they can drink on their own. But even from home, before you bring them to the hospital, you know how it's easy to make ORS by it's a simple salt, sugar, and water solution. So they can start this from home if they are able to drink. If they are not able to drink on their own, this fluid replacement will be done through their veins. So we call it an intravenous way. So we use an intravenous route to rehydrate this person. And then we talked about how cholera is a bacteria. It's a germ, right? So since it's a bacteria, we can also use antibiotics in the hospital. So there is a regimen that will be given by the hospital or by the WHO, which the hospital will follow for antibiotics, and that's what will be given to the patient to help them get well sooner. Also, we want to encourage this person to have a proper diet and to keep eating, so we encourage them to have meals. If they can't eat, if they're too weak to eat, we make sure that they're having light meals, things like porridge, just to make sure their energy level is increasing. Because they've been losing too much, we want to make sure we're replacing things at a good rate. And lastly, but not the least, we want to make sure that this person has moral support. You know, this is a disease that people, we hear on the news about deaths due to this disease, so people will have fear. And for a person to actually heal well, we know that health is holistic. It's not just about physical health, but it's also emotional, all those things. So they need this, as much support as they can have from their family, even from the hospital staff, to make sure that their healing process is quickened and is easier. So we want to make sure that the moral support is high. But even as we give moral support to our family and friends who have cholera, we make sure that we are keeping in mind those preventative measures that I talked about. So you make sure that sanitation and hygiene are still high, even as you take care of your loved ones. This is Dr. Mainga Nalue. Thank you so much for watching, and this is the end of our discussion on cholera. Continue watching Camnet TV.
Well, thank you for staying with us, and that was the Health Corner. Interesting enough. And to just get to the next segment, let's have a look at how the coach is performing this morning against other major competitors. So now, the Greater British Pound is buying at 25 kwacha 3 tungwe and selling at 25 kwacha 8 tungwe. The Euro is buying at 21 kwacha 75 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha 180 ngwe. The South African Rand is buying at 1 kwacha 08 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 10 ngwe. $1 is buying at 19 kwacha 90 ngwe and selling at 20 kwacha 29 ngwe. Well, those are your money markets updated as of the 31st of August 2023 at 0719 this morning as the pay finance institution that we do monitor. Now, interesting enough, we are seeing that the kwacha has continued to go where the oil misbehaving. We are seeing that it is going towards the 20 kwacha mark as well on the buying aspect. On the selling side, it is already at 20, and that is not good for us as a country, and we have to continuously explore measures because this is not conducive. However, talking about that, the kwacha as one of the consequences, that is the determinant of the monthly fuel pump price, which the Energy Regulation Board, ERB, does announce at the end of every month. And today being the last day of the month of August, we are expecting that the Energy Regulation Board is going to revise the pump price, most likely upwards, unless they attribute other factors. But if it comes to the culture performance, it means that they have no option but to increase upwards. And what does that mean? It means that consumers will be highly affected in that because prices of various commodities will equally be pushed up, because what manufacturers do and those providing services do is that they push the burden to the consumers. So the consumers are going to bear the price. And as we can see that as of last month, we saw that the country's inflation has not been declining, but has been on an upward trajectory, hence prompting the central bank to revise the monetary policy rate as part of the measures to cushion, to keep the inflation in check. Now, Kozi, you know that today the Energy Regulation Board will be revising those fuel pump prices. But what would be your anticipation on that?
Sure. Usually the fuel pump price goes with the cost of crude on the international market, and also the performance of the kwacha. And we have seen in the past few days that the kwacha has lost against the dollar. It's trading almost at 20. So I feel that there is all pointers are pointing to an increase. I don't know if there are any other dynamics that will be used to reduce the pump price of fuel, diesel. So it is, the expectation is an increase in the price of fuel, and also looking at how the dollar has been performing. I think those are the indicators that will lead us to see an increase in the pump price.
Interesting. What are some of the stories that we are looking at this morning, so that we can get zooming some of the stories? And before we have the interview of the day by 8 hours, do stick around on Camnet Breakfast Show, because we have an interesting guest that is going to help us analyze various issues happening in the country, as well as we continue to reflect on the 2 years of the United Party for National Development administration in office. So now let's start with this story where some Lusaka residents have expressed divergent views of President Hakainde Hichilema's assurance to address the high minimum prices in the country. That's a story where the president, when he had a rally in Lusaka's Mandevo constituency, did make some assurances, but some citizens are reacting to that. Let's have a look.
Some Lusaka residents have reacted with mixed feelings to President Hakainde Hichilema's assurance that minimum prices will stabilize in the near future, as government is working at increasing maize production. In his continued week of activism to mark 2 years in office, dubbed turning challenges into opportunities, the head of state was in Lusaka's Mandevo constituency, where he took part in a cleaning exercise at Pata Level 1 hospital before launching the sinking of a borehole, the first of the 7 to be sunk by the first family in all 7 constituencies of Lusaka in Mpurungu Ward at Kabanana Secondary School. Addressing scores, the head of state acknowledged high minimum prices in the country.
Solution ya bunga si kulibe inangu other than kuikira mutengo wa bwino kuma farmers so that they can grow more maize. When they grow more maize, we can now lower the price of meal because we have a lot of maize.
Reacting to his sentiments, some residents in Lusaka have shared their views on the matter, with Isaac Chanda believing the head of state with faith.
Promises were made regarding the economy of the nation, especially to do with the prices of mini meal. The president promised that things will be well sooner than later. What we can only do as the citizens is to accept that by faith. Since he's the leader of the nation, he knows how things are run economically. So he knows well. Another resident, Mwamba Mpeka, is however of the view that fuel prices should be reduced if high minimum prices are to be addressed.
How is he going to do that? Because fuel, if he works on the pump price, then once the fuel. So fuel every day for a monthly review.
Whilst appreciating government's resolve to address high minimum prices in the long run, governance activist Wesley Mianda has urged government to find an immediate solution to the matter.
We have FRA, which is busy buying maize, and it has even bought more. Let this government die a little by sacrificing part of that maize to give it to Zambia National Service, Zambia Correctional Services, and these institutions should be given more, milling plants to produce more milling milk, so that the market is flooded.
For Camnet News, Afias Kaptula, Lusaka.
Thank you very much for that clip. Interesting story indeed. And indeed, it is a democracy, and the people are entitled to always give their perspective on matters of national interest. And we did see there are people expressing their perspective pertaining to President Hakainde Hichilema's assurance to address the high price of minimum. It is a teething issue in the country at the moment, Kozi, and we have seen that various stakeholders have continued to press on this matter.
Sure.
Is it justifiable?
You see, and the solution that the president was talking about does not seem to be a short-term solution. It's a long-term solution, because he's talking about supporting farmers who in turn are going to grow more maize, so that we have enough stock, and then the minimum prices will go down. Farmers are only going into the field next month, so you have to wait for the maize to mature, and the farming. So we are talking about next year, April, May, somewhere there, and even then that will be fresh maize. So for it to maybe June, July, that's when maybe we can talk about issues to do with having new stock on the market as regards maize. So the farmers will have to go in the fields now, and the farmers will have to be supported now so that they can produce more maize in this farming season, so that next harvest, that's when we have enough maize. I think that's where this solution I've had is taking us to. So the issue of the minimum prices coming down, or it sounds like something that can only be done next year. I don't know if there are any other dynamics, or there are any other short-term arrangements that have been made by the government to ensure that they cushion, they bring down the price of minimum. It has not come out in this particular story.
Could it be a question of Wazajai? I mean, they will get used. They will start paying the 200 and it's 50, 60, the 300 kwacha for a bag of minimum. They'll get used by the time we are clocking 2024. They would have even stopped singing this chorus of prices of minimum. But we'll be joined by our guest, hopefully, that who's going to also help us discuss this issue. He is also coming from the UPND. He's a nominated member of parliament, Ricardo Mufalari. So we are hoping that he comes to also give us his perspective, straight as we mark the 2 years anniversary of the UPND in office. What are some of the stories that we have there?
Yes, we have another interesting story, and it says that police in Lusaka have formally charged and arrested opposition Forum for Democracy and Development, FDD President Edith Nawakwi, for the offense of abduction contrary to the laws of Zambia. Now, according to Zambia Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwale, the suspect, while acting together with other unknown persons, is alleged to have forced Feluna Hatembo and Newton Hatembo into confinement against their will at different lodges in Lusaka after deceiving them that she was going to help them. Now he says the suspects has been released on a police bond pending court appearance. Now, speaking shortly after being released at Woodlands Police Station, Ms. Nawakwi wondered why police raided her house early morning, despite informing them that she was unwell. Here's a report.
The story of the Hatembo siblings is a dominant one that has been part of the country's political landscape, but in the latest turn of events, police have arrested and charged opposition Forum for Democratic Development FDD President Edith Nawakwi for the offense of abduction contrary to Section 253 and 256 of the laws of Zambia. Deputy Police Public Relations Officer Danny Mwale says Ms. Nawakwi is alleged to have forced Feluna Hatembo and Milton Hatembo into confinement against their will at different lodges in Lusaka between September 2020 and January 2021.
During the time of their confinement, The victims were not allowed to move, communicate with anyone, and do anything without her authority. This occurred between September 2020 and January 2021 in Lusaka. The suspect has been released on police bond pending court appearance.
Meanwhile, speaking shortly after being released on police bond at her residence, Ms. Nawakwi questioned why police officers had to follow her to her residence in order to effect an arrest. She alleges that the police are panicking because she earlier informed the police officers of her illness.
Have run for election. So he was the interested party in Feluna not appearing in court. In fact, most of the videos aired by Milton and the sister consistently say that Nawakwi was trying to force them to appeal against the judgment in the High Court which said Feluna could not prosecute her case because it was time-barred. Now, the appeal was to the extent that a fraud, a criminal offense, has now time limit. If you killed someone 30 years ago, you can't say, no, it's time-barred. That is a code file. So the code file of fraudulent acquisition of farm number 1921-24 will never die.
While questioning how she abducted the Hatembos when she was in Lusaka, the opposition leader claims that those alleged to have been human rights defenders have turned into government officials. She further alleges that her safety is compromised.
My life was at risk because they could actually crawl behind my back and poison me. None of you will know that actually this has been caused by some undesirable elements within the state. So I decided that I was going to seek medical attention out of the borders of the Republic. And therefore, I mean, against my will, I've never done that. But I have to do it because the environment is extremely, extremely hostile, where they're even posting that, well, we hope she comes back dead.
The case of farm number 1924 of Calabar District has been dragging for some time, but Ms. Nawakwi maintains that her interest in the Hatembos was part of her mission to gain information related to allegations of the then main opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema's fraud in Lima Bank. Ms. Nawakwi also maintains that her interest in farm 1924 was to confirm allegations that a property in the farm was alleged to have been mortgaged to Lima Bank. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
That's an interesting story there coming through, done by Nelson. Of course, issues to do with Feluna and Milton Hatembo and the consequent arrest of Edith Nawakwi, the FDD leader, as regards to that particular matter. This is a thorny, It's a story that has been for a while now. It started in the late 2020s. Is it 2021? When we were headed to the election, this is when the matter was really hot, and this is the time when the Felunas had gone into hiding. This is the matter that is being pursued now.
Yeah, it is an interesting story there. We saw that the day before yesterday, Madam Nawakwi was actually someone, she was supposed to have been arrested, but however, she was not arrested, and the police instead she should hand herself over to the police. And yesterday we saw her being arrested in connection with the abduction of the Hatembo siblings. And we hope that this case will also reach its logical conclusion, because it's a case that has been pending, and the same story pertaining to that farm, issues related to that farm, and issues related to the abduction and everything. So let's see that let's hope that we'll finally reach its logical conclusion.
What does the law say about illness and people appearing before the police? We have seen people going to the courts on wheelchairs. We saw people attending court sessions with clutches and what do you call that thing they put around your neck when you have a problem in the neck? Yeah. What does the law say? Because Madam Nawakwi claims that the doctor had written to the police. The police is in receipt of 2 letters indicating that she's not well. She needs.
Yeah, I think the law does recognize the aspect of sickness. I think we are preview. Even for example, some court cases have ended up being adjourned because someone is not okay and probably their mental stability is not fine. You cannot be able to present yourself or present yourself effectively when being put onto your defense or being in a position to respond to questions from the lawyers and judges. So that has always been a consideration. Even in the police cells, I don't think police would be able to be happy to detain someone who's going to die in their custody. We've seen those stories, and they have really have dented the image of the police in the past, where, for example, this suspect dies in police detention. So whether you are at police cells, what I know about human rights is that your right to health is upheld regardless of the situation that you are in. So even if you are incarcerated, because it does not mean that your right to good health has been taken away from you. What is restricted is your right to movement. And you are confined to this place, but that does not mean you should stop enjoying other privileges, such as you having access to a decent meal, because you die in police custody or in prison. So those other rights, I can safely say that they do remain. And I think and that reminds me, because I wanted to think of the survival of those in police custody. You find that someone has been in police custody for 13, let's say 13 days, or let's say 2 weeks, and that person at police cells, do they cook for suspects? How is that person surviving? I'm sure I know of correctional facilities. Yes, that provision is there. But when you are detained at the police station, do they cook, or you depend on food they bring?
Yes,
your relatives bring
for you. Your relatives bring for you.
If you don't have,
imagine you are detained in Livingston. You go for a visit or anything, and then something happens, and then you are detained there, and you have no relatives. How do you survive? I'm asking the same question.
It's food for thought. I think we'll have to look
You
at
can
that.
give us your questions and contributions on our Facebook page. We are live there streaming. So you go to the Camnet TV page and then leave your comments and contribution on that particular page. We have quite a number of people that have come through on that page and saying, watching you from Livingston, good morning, Vakome Piri. Thank you very much, Vakome. We really appreciate your contribution. Mwichesi Chirongo says, watching you guys. Thank you very much. And he says, Enoch Kamlete says, yes, you do use a place of gas and things will be okay. Thank you very much. Watching from Luansha, that is Davis Kangwa. Thank you very much, Davis. We appreciate your support. Manongo Gift says he's watching us from Ndola. Thank you very much, Manongo. We appreciate. And Raphael Chiwe also is watching from Kabanana right here in Lusaka. Thank you very much. We appreciate the fact that you're watching us from Kabanana. You can also share your thoughts on this particular program by going to Facebook and then search for Camnet TV and then go to the comment section of this particular broadcast because it's live, and then we are going to be more than happy to see what you think. Honorable Hendrix Kasanda is also following us as Blessing Spirit is also following us from Kamwala South in Lusaka. Thank you very much. We appreciate your support and we appreciate the fact that you have chosen channel 274 on DSTV, channel 106 on Topstar, and of course channel 25 on Go TV, and of course you watching us through Facebook. We do appreciate your support. Patrick.
Yeah, now moving on, let's have a look at a story where the Lusaka Magistrate Court has ordered the Drug Enforcement Commission officer honored and fired as Chisenga after lawyers are representing gold scam suspect Shadrack Kasanda that she be cited for contempt. Makebi Zulu asked the Chief Resident Magistrate Davis Chiwili to issue a summons against the said officer after discovering that she allowed the accused to be taken by the DEC officers to a known destination when he was supposed to appear before court. So this is a story pertaining to the issues that we have been covering over the gold scam, and which involves 11 Zambians and 11 Zambians and Egyptians. So let's have a look at this story.
Lawyers representing gold scam accused Shadrack Kasanda were Wednesday afternoon forced to solve a puzzle by establishing where their client, who was expected to appear before court, was taken. After spending a few minutes trying to establish his client's whereabouts, furious Makebi Zulu went back to court and requested that the Drug Enforcement Commission officers who took his clients away from the court premise be subpoenaed. The enraged counsel wondered why the DEC officers would go against the court's order and decide not to present the accused before court. Shadrack Kasanda, a businessman who is appearing before court alongside 10 others on espionage charge, was ordered yesterday, together with his co-accused, to appear before court on the 30th of August 2023. But upon arriving this afternoon at the Lusaka Magistrate Court for his case, the embattled Kasanda was separated from his co-accused by DEC officers and taken to an unknown destination for further interrogation. After his counsel pleaded with the court that the officers be summoned, Chief Resident Magistrate Davis Chiwili issued summons against DEC officer only identified as Chisenga to appear before court on the 31st of August 2023 and show cause why she must not be cited for contempt. And speaking shortly after the court session, Mr. Zulu alleges that his client has been kidnapped.
This is a sheer case of lawlessness on the part of the state. There is no way law enforcement agencies can come and abduct someone who's supposed to be appearing before court. Shadrack is appearing by way of warrant. There was an order that he should be in court today at 14 hours. The act by the state to take him away from the cells and take him wherever they've taken him is surely unbecoming. Of course, he
also disclosed that information reaching him indicates that the law enforcers are planning to slap his client Kasanda with aggravated robbery charges.
Of course, we've been aware of attempts to have witnesses or to turn the witnesses to testify to the effect that he is guilty or indeed committed aggravated robbery, something that is intended to keep him in custody. They are aware that we made an application for bail, and they know that they put a flimsy certificate to deny bail, and they probably know where this case may be going. And to avoid all that, they decided to abduct our client. It is, I call it an abduction because there's a pending warrant, a court order to the extent that he should have been in court at 14 hours. The state had struggled to explain to the court why he was not around. Even when we brought the custody officer, the state was busy objecting, trying to suggest to us that they know something about this whole matter. Let Kasanda be given justice. Let the court hear the matter and determine it to the fullest. This issue of victimizing him merely because he managed to tell them the person who was involved at State House, it shouldn't be like that. Let everyone be subjected to the same law.
This afternoon, the case was set to come up for the state submission to give reason why the 11 accused persons in this matter must not be granted bail following their application made by the Director of Public Prosecution. Kasanda has been jointly charged with 5 Zambians and 5 Egyptians. The 11 were recently arrested by the Drug Enforcement Commission in connection to an alleged gold scam involving $5.7 million United States dollars, which was intercepted at KK Airport. The espionage charge that the accused are facing is contrary to Section 3A of the State Security Act, Chapter 111 of 2012 of the laws of Zambia. Allegations before court indicates that the 11 accused persons on the 13th of August 2023, whilst acting together, entered a protective place, which is the Kenneth Kaunda Airport, for a purpose that was prejudiced to the safety and interest of the Republic of Zambia. Miriam Kaemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Thank you very much for keeping it on Camnet, and that's an interesting story that we're looking at pertaining to the courts and brought to us by Miriam Kaemba. Thank you for that wonderful report. And we saw State Council Makebi Zulu being very annoyed that his client was taken away before just appearing in court. And we are told that he was arrested so that he can be interrogated for the further charges, and this is in relation to suspected charges of aggravated robbery. Now, we are getting your comment and contributions on our Facebook page, as well as if you want to call us direct in studio. We want to hear from you, our dear viewers, here on the Camnet Breakfast Show regarding some of the stories that we have looked at. You can give us your perspective, just your observations, and also remember to tell us where you are watching us from. We want to interact with you, our dear viewers, especially those of you following us on our Facebook page. You can also follow us on our YouTube channel, and we are also on TikTok, though we are yet to go live on TikTok.
Sure.
But you can also follow us. We do have interesting stories there, and let's get interacting. What we do, what we bring to social media is objectivity and authenticity, and making sure that we give our viewers things that are well documented and not speculation. And that's what we seek to do in the journalism profession as Camnet TV, Kozi.
So we do have Shadrach Mbewe, who says, "Ma'am, we love you. God bless you." I'm sure he is sending that to the FDT president. Really appreciate your support. And Kingsley Majila says, "Good morning, guys. I'm watching you from Mazabuga, sweetest town in southern province of Zambia. Guys, keep up the good work. Bless God. Keep up. God bless you guys." Thank you very much. We really do appreciate your support. You can also go to our Facebook page and leave your contributions and comments, as Patrick has already said. Let's get into the next story, and it says Opposition Citizen First Party leader Harry Calabar has challenged the United Party for National Development UPND to stop intimidating the opposition. Now, Mr. Calabar, who addressed the media in Lusaka Wednesday, says despite Zambia being a signatory to many human rights conventions and protocols, opposition political party leaders have continued being arrested and detained under what he termed as frivolous charges and subjected to intimidation as a means of silencing them. Now, the CF leader says the opposition shall not be silenced and will continue to mobilize and work together as a united front until they rid the nation of any kind of repression. Now, Mr. Calabar says they expect government to ensure that the same standard that Dr. Mumba prescribed for Zimbabwe will prevail in Zambia in all by-elections right through to the 2026 tripartite elections. Let's have a look at this.
These are the views of some Lusaka residents who gathered at the Citizens First Party Secretariat, where their leader Harry Calabar was scheduled to address the press.
Muziko tavutika mwanjini azivayu ina madiploma pano nimbamikamba ina madiploma nibe ntchito vunga 304 sinikwanisa.
And Mr. Calabar, in response to some of the concerns, has challenged the UPND administration to address the high cost of living and youth unemployment, which has continued to affect many lives.
The Citizens First is concerned with the levels of poverty that the citizens have had to endure. We have seen families having 1 meal a day, while others cannot even afford a meal a day. And yet the cost of essential commodities has also gone beyond the reach of the average citizens, while a few politically connected individuals continue to dine in opulence. The disparity between those who have and those who do not have is so wide that if not addressed, this has the potential to threaten the peace of the nation.
Meanwhile, opposition political parties in Zambia have continued to cry foul over what they term intimidation from the ruling United Party for National Development, UPND, with the latest being the Patriotic Front, whose planned rally was stopped on security concerns. Mr. Calabar has however told the UPND to stop intimidating the opposition, further stating that the opposition will not be silenced but continue to mobilize and work together as a united front until they rid the nation of any kind of repression.
It is important for those in government to realize that the continued intimidation of perceived political opponents will not slow down the opposition, but rather it will serve as a catalyst that will help opposition parties to set their differences aside and focus on kicking out this repressive government in 2026.
Mr. Calabar, on the other hand, says opposition leaders are happy that President Hichilema sent former Vice President Dr. Nevas Mumba to lead the SADC election observers in Zimbabwe, and says it is the expectation of the opposition political parties that the Zambian government will also ensure that the same standards that Dr. Mumba prescribed for Zimbabwe is what will obtain in Zambia in all the by-elections right through to 2026 tripartite elections.
It is therefore our expectation that the Zambian government will also ensure that the same standard that Dr. Mumba is prescribing for Zimbabwe is what we obtain in Zambia. In all by-elections, right through to the 2026 tripartite elections, to avoid what transpired in the Kwacha and the Kabushi by-elections, where some candidates were disenfranchised.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Thank you very much. So that is about the press briefing that was held yesterday, Wednesday, by a Citizen First leader, Harry Calabar, and raising issues to do with the governance of the country. Now let's move on. The next story says a historian at the University of Zambia is calling upon the traditional leadership in Zambezi District to dialogue and find a lasting solution to the historical conflict. Now, Professor Bizek Piri says the conflict between the Lunda and the Luvale speaking people can only be resolved if the traditional leadership in the districts opts to dialogue. Fierce tribal conflicts has erupted between the Lunda and the Luvale speaking people, where police have recorded 25 different cases ranging from assault, malicious damage to property arson and unlawful wounding, with no arrests made so far. Here's a report.
These are some pictures emerging from Zambezi District in Northwestern Province, where fierce tribal conflict has erupted between the Lunda and Luvale-speaking people. According to Zambia Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwale, 25 different cases ranging from assault, malicious damage to property, arson, and unlawful wounding have been recorded, with no arrest made so far as of today, August 30th, 2023.
The Inspector General of Police has dispatched paramilitary officers to the district in order to reinforce officers in the district in maintaining law and order. At the moment, the situation is reported to be calm as police have intensified patrols.
Mr. Mwale further says sporadic cases of violence continue in some areas. The general situation is reported to be calm as police patrols have been intensified in the district. Historian at the University of Zambia, Professor Bizek Piri, says dialogue between the traditional leadership in the area is the only solution to the conflict.
For a long time, for some reason, the Luvales and the Lundas have always had conflicts. The solution to that lies with the people themselves. Government, as we have seen down, because of the conflict that has arisen, it's not clear. I don't have the information, concrete information, as to what led to the current conflict. even if the government has sent the police to try and broker peace to separate the people. But at the end of the day, when the police move out, will the people themselves live at peace? They can only live at peace if they agree to live in peace and agree that there are these issues. How do they come up with the boundary? Well, the question is the boundary. If they cannot resolve amongst themselves of what the boundary, the government cannot force a decision to say, Ruvales, you end here, and Lundas, you end here.
The Lunda-Ruvale conflict dates back to colonial era, and all successive presidents have failed to resolve it. One would wonder why the conflict has been difficult to resolve. After all, we are one Zambia, one nation. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Thank you very much. So that is about the conflict between the Lundas and the Ruvales in the northwestern province. Makes sad reading indeed. We do hope that they can resort to dialogue as advised by a historian. So let's get moving on. Patrick, what do you have?
Yeah, before we get moving on, first of all, I wanted to comment on that story. It's an historic story because it's pertaining to the Lunda and the Ruvale. I think I remember when I was just starting my journalism, we went with I think then it should have been President Edgar Lungu, who was in office. We went there to go and resolve issues pertaining to land disputes. So there was the Minister of Chief there, I think, but there should have been Mr. Lawrence Sichari. We went on to go and there was that conflict was still imminent. And you know, my assumption was that probably we had moved on from that conflict, but the two tribes have continued to fight. But just like Vincent Piri did say, we are the one Zambia, one nation, and I think there should be a common ground or something that can be able to bring the two peoples together, so that they can also live in harmony. Because at the end of the day, conflict somewhere or anywhere is conflict everywhere. You know, things that are affecting that community, they are equally affecting everyone else, because we are one as a people in Zambia. So when we are reinforcing the unification of this country, we need to make sure that we pay attention to such issues, because sometimes they may tend to escalate to worser levels that are not manageable. You can imagine if those people are armed, it means that they'll be killing each other. So now, how can we avoid that? I think that's something we should take seriously, because this is where all the conflict we see in various regions starts to emanate from such simple issues. You see the burning of houses, you see hacking each other. You know, people now end up killing each other in these circumstances, and I don't think that is conducive for the country. And you know, Zambia is rated as a beacon of peace, and if we have to uphold that peace as a country, we need to make sure that anything that smells like conflict should not be entertained in our political and economic discourse, because that will be taking us backwards. Because if we are to uphold this reputation, then we need to make sure that we do more, because peace and security are a key to economic prosperity. There is no substitute to that cause. So if we are going to be passive as a country and just observe that, we may realize that it may start to affect us at a larger scale. But I'm happy that there was a deployment of police officers. But the question is that for how long are the police officers going to be confined in that area? They will be living, and those people will remain in their community. Are they going to go back to their conflict? So,
I think I agree with you. And what I think also is that we need government to come up with a team that is going to spearhead the dialogue process between the two factions. So I think what should be done is that there should be maybe government representatives, let's say maybe even ministers or civil society organizations, SACODs, and other traditional leaders. Maybe we get traditional leaders from the Western Province, traditional leader, let's say Mpezeni, let's say Chief Mukoni, and the Lozi King to go and sit down with the two traditional leaders.
Yes.
And a few community members in that area, and dialogue. And these people, this team that will be constituted to go and dialogue with those people should firstly understand and not belittle the conflict.
The conflict, yes.
Yes, they should appreciate the conflict and make sure that they understand why people are fighting, so that they try and bring peace. Because if you go there like we took the police there, the police will just go and say, stop fighting. Can you go back to your village? And you go back to your village. They will not have sorted out the conflict themselves. So I think there's need to understand the conflict and appreciate the conflict and say, okay, so people are fighting because of land. So how do we sort out this particular problem? What is the issue? I know these people have gotten into, are encroaching into, I know these people are claiming our piece of land. So what do we do about this particular problem? Both parties must appreciate the dialogue, the process of trying to bring peace in the area. I think that is what is going to help us. But if we just continue sitting in our comfortable offices and say, please guys, stop fighting. Police, go there. Please guys, stop fighting. I think we will not. That is why this conflict has dragged for so long. It is, as you have put it, not a new thing.
No, it's an historical conflict.
It's an historical conflict. So we need to try and find a lasting solution to this particular problem. It will get to a worse point, as you have put it. Now that it is still manageable, I think let us constitute a team, put civil society organizations there, maybe even if it's a land issue, even the Ministry of Lands should be there.
The Lands
Tribunal should be there. Traditional leaders from various other parts of the country, Mwinerubemba, Mpezeni, Chief Mugoni, senior chiefs, and paramount chiefs.
And in fact, that reminds me, we have the House of Chiefs in place.
Yes.
So I think the House of Chiefs exists for some of these challenges.
Yeah, so the House of Chiefs must identify people who they feel should be on this particular group of people that are going to try. In fact, we need to respect that conflict.
Then there's also an opportunity to leverage or utilize the knowledge that civil society organizations like the Southern Africa Center for the Constructive Resolutions of Disputes have in terms of resolving conflict. Probably they can also help mediate that in terms of making sure that both parties are ahead, drafting resolutions and making sure that when this is put to bed, it is put to bed permanently, and that it is well documented that we managed to. This is how we managed to end this conflict. So because if we are going to leave it like that, because the problem will continue to escalate, like you say. So we have an opportunity to do something right, and that opportunity still presents itself. So we just hope that the government or the president himself probably will initiate this dialogue, so that the people can be able to find the common ground and be able to resolve their differences and move on. There are various aspects, like you have said, undermining the nature of the problem would be detrimental and would be suicidal. So it is important, first of all, to understand where is this problem coming from. And then, okay, what are the possible compromises? Because at the end of the day, when you're going to the discussion table, we should be willing to compromise. Probably, okay, let's cause the habit. It's okay. Someone should be able to, but unlike a situation where you say it's me, sometimes it tends to. So going to the meeting, probably we are hoping that stakeholders will have an open-minded perspective to say, how do we resolve this? Because ultimately, I think it is for the interest of their peoples, and these peoples belong to one country, and that country is Zambia, and we have a motto which is one Zambia, one nation. So ultimately, I believe that if we do everything right, we'll be able to go through past this conflict. Now, let's also have a look at another story, Kozi, that is interesting. And this is a story where we have some younger drivers Wednesday afternoon staged a protest at the burial of their colleague, Nicholas Chishimba, who was gruesomely murdered by unknown criminals in Lusaka's Kawata area. So, the Online Taxi Drivers Association coordinator, Pastor Charles Kaela, says that it is unacceptable for human life to be lost in such a manner. The drivers who gathered for the burial of Nicholas Chishimba urged President Hakainde Hichilema to fire the transport minister for allegedly neglecting the plight of drivers. So let's have a look at this story. We'll be back shortly. Keep it on Camnet.
As drivers, we pick clients without putting the name. We don't know where we take clients. We are pushed to work even in areas where we are not secured.
These are online taxi operators who attended the burial of their colleague who was murdered by unknown people in Lusaka. These drivers are unhappy with the manner in which their colleague met his fate.
Ministry of Transport and Logistics, we are here saying we want justice to prevail for Nicholas. We will never rest. Nicholas, comrades, we won't rest as younger drivers.
While mourning their own, tempers rose, leading to them demand for the dismissal of Transport and Logistics Minister Frank Tayali, as they claim only questions than answers surround the death of their own.
We petitioned the local government. The minister told us when we expressed, I remember I was the one reading the statement to the minister, telling him that our friend was shot twice in the thigh. The minister was so openly to say that you can leave the app without
now started losing people like this. Somebody being killed like a chicken, even a chicken will kill it in a mannered way. Please, Mr. President, if the way you say you are the president for the people, be the president for the people, and not be the president for your ministers alone. There's no you can allow you can allow a foreign country there to come and mistreat your children in this land. We've been crying, you've been quiet. We haven't heard you replying anything. Whenever you are operating, somebody's booking you, and whenever somebody's booking you, there's a record that side. So Young wasn't released to know which what was the which one is the last order he received, to whom, where was he going. We just know to say he was killed in Kawata. From where, we don't know. Who booked him, we don't know. We want that kind of information to be released. We give them 3 days.
Cannot be dying like chicken. See Chishimba. Chishimba is gone. We are here. Tomorrow it might be me. The other day it might be the client. We are not safe at all. And if this younger thing cannot comply to our demands, please let them leave this country.
The President, if you are listening to me, of which I know that you will be able to watch this video. These are the youths who voted for you, sir. We are appealing to you. Yango will take us nowhere in the name of cheap rides, but we are losing lives. So we are kindly request you, Mr. President, sir, to intervene in the matter and let the online business be regulated. Let there be sanity in the business.
On the other hand, family members are short of words as they cannot believe their own has gone mysteriously.
Asking Jehovah to give me the courage. You were in my home for 11 months. Until today, Jehovah. Mweova ngafweni. Ndero mbokutira mweka bumba wa milalo. Amenso yenu yaba paliponse. Tayaba ya afisa mamwe Jehova. Onso waikete kumwana wandi. Nalomba vyo mpashi wenu wa mshiro. Let your will be done. Let your will be done.
Meanwhile, Deputy Police Public Relations Officer Danny Mwale says investigations into the cause of Chishimba's death are still underway.
On my table, we don't have anything. As it is, officers are still investigating.
Nicholas, 38, lives behind a wife and a son. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Like we earlier promised you that we were going to have a guest on the program, and that time is now, and we have been joined by nominated Member of Parliament Likando Mufalali, who is going to help us discuss the UPND's 2 years in office and just his perspective on various governance matters. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting us. I mean us as UPND. Sorry.
Interesting. To just get started with our conversation, Honorable, we are looking at the 2 years of office of the UPND. Now, interesting enough, we have been interviewing various stakeholders. They feel the UPND in office has not done much, especially in terms of reducing the cost of living. However, overall, we would give you an opportunity to just make your own assessment of how this 2 years journey has been, especially having both experiences, both in the House and Parliament, as well as a political party.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think, firstly, I was saying we appreciate the invitations that you give to the UPND on your morning breakfast and many other programs in the evenings and so forth, where we are given the opportunity to explain some of the achievements within the 2 years, and it's an ongoing, it's a moving target, in short, where we are not static every day. We keep improving every day. We keep on increasing on our 2 year tenure, or the 2 year time that we have been in government. So coming to the critics or the cost of living, what has been achieved in the past 2 years, I would say we have actually achieved quite well. We have achieved many things over the past 2 years, and I think many other members from the UPND and also from the public, I think, will attest to that we have achieved quite a lot based on the promises that were made, and also some of the promises that are work in progress. I think so far, you remember that we have managed to bring back the meal allowance. We have managed to bring sanity in many areas. We have managed to increase CDF. We have managed to pay retirees. We have managed to give out the partial NAPSA payment, which the President talked about. We have managed also even to ensure that we have a well-balanced cabinet, in the sense that before we used to see some areas or ethnic groupings being left out. But I think the current President has managed to achieve that by ensuring that his cabinet is a cabinet that is well covered from one corner of Zambia to the other and across. So that is what we needed. The thuggery is no longer part of us, and it's one thing that the President, the current President, and the UPND promised that we will have to do that. Now, free education. We have free education as we are seated here. We have many families. Even when we talk about the costs or the cost of commodities going up, and the cost of living, as many are calling it, that the cost of living has gone up. There are areas that I think the current leadership, the current President, the UPND leadership has managed to intervene. Giving free education is one area of it's an intervention. The cost of paying for a child to go in school is no longer the burden of a parent. So there is a saving in that area. So you are not adding part of the cost of taking a child to school as part of a cost to a parent who is sending a child to grade 1, or who is supposed to pay user fees and whatnot. So that is work in progress, and so far so good, to a point where the parents now have just to have that zeal to send their child to school. Yeah, so we have achieved quite many. Employment, we have gotten 30,000 plus. And I have seen others are downplaying that achievement, where many of our youths who trained in education to teach, who went to universities, when they got themselves out of the 30,000 teachers, others are saying, no, are we going to eat teachers? No, 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 no. 30,000 teachers have gone in to cushion the deficit that was there before. And when you are offering free education and you offer a teacher to provide services for the child that has to go, it's a great achievement, it's a great improvement. The results might not be seen now. The results might be seen 10 years later. From now, 10 years from now, we should start seeing the benefits of taking children to school. The thuggery that we experienced is a result of a situation where we had too many people failing to go to school, and they became they were compound boys and girls. Because of what? Because of a policy that could not allow them to step into a classroom. But now what we have is a situation which many or a few people might not realize that this is a benefit to the country. By having a well-informed citizenry, we will have a situation where we are going to reduce on crime. We are going to reduce on thuggery or recruitment of a person to say, be a cadre so that your job is to come here and disrupt meetings or disrupt a program in a TV station. So that is work in progress, and that is a milestone for our nation to continue having an educated citizenry. That is a plus for us as UPND. And on top of that, the 30,000 people that have been recruited, they are also reducing the burden of their parents, the burden in their families. They have a salary now. They are getting earnings, they are getting allowances, they are working, not only at education level or in the education sector, but also in the health sector. We had over 11,000 coming on board and working to improve the health of our people and to ensure that the health services are adequate, they are covered for our mothers who are to deliver babies and so forth. They have that staff now working for them in rural areas. So we are slowly but steadily moving towards the targets that we set for ourselves in ensuring that our people, the Zambian people, benefit from the health sector, and otherwise. So you know, when you employ, there's a ripple, there's an effect. There's a ripple effect that there are positive effects that actually impact on families by employing one person in the family. And in this case, you realize that the UPND didn't want to say you must be connected. And the recruitment process that we are using as UPND, there is no connection. You have the qualification, you have the right grades, grade 12 certificate, your diploma there, your degree there, you get your job. You get the job. If you have to get employed or get recruited in the Zambia Army, Zambia Air Force or Police, you have the grade, you have the physical stature that they are looking for, you are not in any way have maybe an ailment and so forth, they'll definitely pick you. So yes. This has been
very interesting enough, Honorable. But like you mentioned, the recruitment, they have been transparent. But however, not everyone fully ends up into the system. We have young people who are still camping at Lukanga training center for the military, who are saying that despite them passing everything, the names there were out, but they have been left out. And we continue to receive these messages. And I have one before you leave, I'll forward it to you, so that you can also know to say, but how are you following up as a government or as a political party as well? Because you're interested to make sure that Zambians have these jobs. But these Zambians, again, are coming back despite the confirmation that they should be able to have access to jobs.
Thank you very much. You are very right. And it's a concern that the numbers could have been, maybe the recruitment could have been over-recruitment, or there could have been. But I saw a letter that came from the ministry and I think from Zambia Army, where they indicated that there was no such a thing as them getting people to go to Lukanga and start waiting outside. And if there is any, I think it's the job of Camnet. You as journalists at Camnet, it's your job to move into Ministry of Defense and be able to interact with the minister or the permanent secretary so that these issues could be explained. And I think we as UPND practice an open door policy. If this is the situation on the ground as you have put it and the messages are coming, there is need for the ministry to actually intervene and also explain themselves on what transpired in that area. And because as UPND, for us is to offer a transparent recruitment. For us is to support the ministry in order for them to make a grade. But if such things are happening and there is evidence, I think the Minister of Defense is equal to the task to explain together with his team at the ministry, at the Army headquarters. Yeah, so you can have you have access to the spokesperson of the Army. You have access to the Army commander, and I think they have a page. I've seen they are doing very well of late. They are actually explaining to us what they are doing, what the Army is all about. So there is that interaction, and I remember one time I mentioned it to one radio station, if it was not here, where I was saying, look, the modern way of doing things, even in the Army itself, is not one where they are now a secret department or whatever. They are able to explain to the citizens because they are working for the citizens and they work with the citizens. So they are able to tell us how beautiful the Army is, how you get involved, or if you want to be an Army officer or a soldier. They are explaining on their page. So they are actually interacting with the masses now, explaining what they are doing. It's not only the Army, the Zambia Police, Zambia Air Force is also doing a good job. We are able to know what a flight sergeant is and so forth. They are interacting with people. They are showing us, and they have been doing this, where they get young people to understand what a plane is, how a plane looks like inside and so forth. That's motivation. So, but coming to the point where you are emphasizing that there is a challenge in Lukanga, I think it would be prudent for Camnet to get involved with the Zambia Army and Ministry of Defense to understand what is going on there.
Interesting. Now, Honorable, you stand part of one of Zambia's important committees in Parliament. This is the Public Accounts Committee. And we also have to talk about the fight against corruption. President Hichilema, while in opposition, also did assure the country that is keen to fight past corruption, current and future corruption. First of all, how do you assess the fight against corruption? Because we have seen others undermining the fight against corruption, suggesting that probably you're just targeting those who served before, in this case, the Patriotic Front, and that current corruption probably is being swept under the carpet. What would be your perspective on that?
Thank you very much. I think to allege that we are sweeping corruption as a party under the carpet in the current regime, I think it is not true. It is not true in the sense that I think the current leadership, the current president of the Republic of Zambia, President Hakainde Hichilema, has been very categorical in how he wants to run the government, how he wants to run his administration. So, for anyone to wake up and say, I've seen some posts where someone says, you are on your own until when you are caught, otherwise you continue moving. The president is not going to start kicking people out on baseless or unfounded allegations. If you allege, you prove that this person is doing this. And if there is a system, in the system, if there's anyone who goes out of the way, who goes away from the positions that are agreed upon, away from their contract, performance contracts, if such a person starts doing or becomes dubious, regardless of where he's sitting, at which ministry, at which department, I think the president has been very categorical. He said, you are on your own. So the president is not going to start chasing Likando, even when he has not found anything. But if Likando is going to make anything, or is going to be caught in a web of corruption, then the law will take its course, and the president won't be there for me or for anyone. So it is very, very clear there's no such a thing as trying to protect anyone in the UPND or in the UPND government, the New Dawn government, the UPND New Dawn government. No sacred cows. If you were whatever, if there's investigation going on, you'll be investigated, and if there is anything that requires you to go to court, definitely they will take you to court without any hindrance or let by the sitting president. And that he has done. At no time have you ever heard President Hakainde Hichilema threaten the judges. At no time have you ever heard him say that investigation should be discontinued, be it with his people or be it with the opposition or any other citizen. There is no intervention whatsoever that I've heard or that you have heard that the president has intervened. So coming to our friends that have found themselves maybe with the two helicopters or jets or whatever, I mean, it's only proper. These things, you know, even in this same sitting, the current government, if you are able to run away now, definitely the record remains. The record will always be there. And on our side, if you have seen Public Accounts Committee, we have not tried to shield anyone. We have always asked the questions, right questions, for those who are been cited in the Auditor General's report. It's coming in September. Anyone who has been cited will be questioned. So we have no sacred cows whatsoever when it comes to governance, when it comes to ensuring that we have accountability, we have transparency, we have good governance in this country. So the current president means well for the Zambian people to ensure that nothing should be able to go into someone's pocket. Everything that is meant for the public, everything that is meant for our communities and our people, it must find itself in the right place. So if you are going to start getting those small things, line up your pockets, and the poor citizens start suffering, definitely, when the law catches up with you, there is no defense from the president.
Various opposition political party leaders have complained that the democratic space is shrinking under the UPND. The PF acting Vice President, Given Luinda, mentioned that when they went to see Zumani, he mentioned that the democratic space is shrinking. Latest, yesterday, Harry Cholera, during a press briefing, did mention that the UPND has been intimidating the opposition. How would you describe the democratic space in the past 2 years?
Actually, when you hear these men and women talk, the democratic space has been broadened. The democratic space and interaction space is good enough for anyone who wants to participate in politics. Look, we are coming from a background, in case Mr. Luvinda has forgotten and the Hari Karaba has forgotten, these all of them were in the PF and Mr. Luvinda is the acting vice president. Firstly, let them open up the democratic space in their own party. They are required to go to a convention and they are struggling, they are failing. Maybe for one reason or the other, we hear Mr. Lungu is still trying to consult to come back. We don't know whether he's coming back. So, before you start pointing at other people, point at yourself. Has the PF been democratic? Firstly, in the way they have been running the country previously, way back, Were they democratic themselves? Secondly, are they being democratic? Their own members had to go to court to put an injunction that it's time to go for whatever. He has just withdrawn, Miles Samba. So, but after even withdrawing, he had, I think in his posting, he had said they should make sure that they indicate when we are going to convention, because that has been removed. So, the people that are complaining, like Mr. Lubinda, should be able to be democratic themselves. You cannot be acting when there's enough room for you to go and be elected and be a legitimate office holder, you know. And the challenges from their own members was that they were actually inappropriately appointed. You know, there was those arguments. So what we are looking for, or what we are looking at now, is to ensure that there is enough democratic space. And for UPND, it has provided such. None of the complaining people have come to Camnet, and outside people are chanting or trying to open the doors or rip the doors of Camnet and come in and remove the person that you are hosting. Or even a journalist who seems to maybe have asked a question that is not sitting well with them, as PF them. Those things are no longer happening. The muscle men are no longer anywhere near us. So the democratic space has not shrunk. It has been opened widely, and it's open for all to participate. Today, you have a lot of our citizens participating, explaining, or even expressing themselves. This is the freedom that we wanted. As Mr. Lubinda is talking, no one is saying we'll come for you, be threatened. There are no more threats that political leaders or political competitors or opponents are facing under the leadership of the UPND, because the UPND has made sure that all the so-called muscle men, wherever they are and hiding, they should never come back. And that's what Zambians should know. Let's never forget where we came from, where the PF were hacking people, beating those who were opposed to their ideology or to their positions, be it in parliament or otherwise, or even in courts. There was ever threats were coming even from the head of state that time, President Lungu, threatening judges, you know, where you want to say, you want to show that you are strong, you are mighty, and whatever you oppose, or if you are seen to oppose the past leadership, the leadership of Lungu, Mr. Lungu then you are on the wrong side, and you are going to be dealt with accordingly. So that kind of positions, that kind of thought and thinking of whatever you may call it, that kind of thought is no longer there. The judges must operate freely, without hindrance, without anyone trying to intimidate them. So that's the democratic space that is created, that is there, where you allow the watchdog institutions to operate freely. If DEC is looking for me, the president should not shield me and say, don't move to this one. This is the democratic space that we are talking about. This is the, you know, in democracy, there are watchdog institutions that help you govern. And you have agreed positions to say there will be no corruption. When those watchdog institutions like ACC move to me and say, can you quantify or qualify what you have based on your income? What business are you running for you to have this much? I should be able to explain in a democratic space. So this is what we have been doing. This is what we have fought for, to ensure that we have space for everyone. So when you look at the space that we have at the moment, Mr. Lubinda is able to go to any funeral without anyone hacking him or moving to whatever. Look, Mr. Calabar, recently, even if he was, you know how he embarrassed himself where he went for a gold phone, which was a pseudo phone. At no time, that was not UPND that were talking to him. It was a journalist who had actually told him to come in. And because, you know, sometimes when you want this, when you are looking for too much, you know, when you want to be, to like material things, you find yourself in such an embarrassment. My brother Calabar embarrassed himself. How do you, he says he doesn't even know that there is no iPhone 15. And then that was not us trying to squeeze him. It was him versus the journalist. And it was openly done. And at no time, we have UPND members all over this city of Lusaka. They didn't go for Mr. Calabar to say, hey, this and that. Them, that time, it was a normal thing to chase anyone who is, be it in car sales, street vending or whatever, or market space. To them, you must be PF, and because it was written in their constitution, you cannot be a civil servant if you don't believe in the ideology of PF. You cannot sit in the market if you don't believe in the ideology of PF. You cannot do this and that. So that was the situation. But now we have moved, and we only hope that our friends have learned something by them admitting that there was wrong in allowing muscle men to start taking over the job of the police, even in the protection of the president. That was how far we had gone in terms of moving away from our governance systems that were structured, that needed to be followed in order for the head of state to be protected. There are institutions that are meant to do that job, not muscle men. So, in short, what I'm trying to say is that our democratic space is open enough for anyone to participate. And that's why my brother, Mr. Hari Calabar, can go to Chipata. I saw him land in Chipata. At the airport where the current president was blocked, he walked freely through the gates. I have youth leaders in Eastern Province, but they have not gone there to, you know, their philosophy was that bomber ni bomber. So there is no longer bomber ni bomber. You land at Chipata Airport, you are able to walk through the gates of Chipata Airport, go into Chipata, enjoy and experience Chipata, enjoy the life of Chipata people, very good people. If you want, you go and visit Nkosiama Kosi and come back, go down, see Gawaundi, dance a bit with them and enjoy Nyao dances. So it's what it is today, where we have allowed a situation where you can visit, you can go to Lubemba and enjoy the traditional ceremonies there, together interact freely at a traditional ceremony without those people coming and say, we are the people who are supposed to be here. Our political leaders are able to, when they Soela, we also Soela. That's what's supposed to have been. Not where you want to say, you must show that you can, you can't come here and so forth. That is a thing of the past.
Unfortunately, time is not on our side, but it would allow you, Honorable, to conclude with, is there hope under the UPND, especially pertaining to addressing the cost of living? And also, are you concerned over issues pertaining to Konkora copper mines as well as Mopani? Because we have been receiving calls on this platform pertaining to the copper belt economy, and that mining activity is the mainstay of that economy, and that with the absence of KCM as well as Mopani operating at optimum level has affected them. As a party, are you concerned about that?
We are very much concerned, and actually I think it has been a serious concern under the UPND leadership. As UPND, we are actually very concerned that we have moved at a slow pace in terms of attending to Mopani. But look, the current president has not been sleeping over this matter. He has been running, he has been working day and night, and that's why many people start condemning, no, he's moving this way, yeah, he's doing this. It's for this reason. He is very much aware that the copper belt economy is down, because this economy, the two giants that are in copper belt, Mopani and KCM, there must be a solution that should be found, or that should be used to redeem the situation, to revamp and restart the economic activities for these two mines. And they have opened it up for people to come in, investors to come in. So, so far, so good. The achievements and the work is going on in order for us to open up these two mines. That I know that the president has been working on it, together with his Minister of Mines and the whole cabinet, the Minister of Finance, in order for the investment to come in into Mopani. In order, you know, there were agreements that were made at Mopani. There were litigations that were going on at KCM. But because of the way the takeovers were taken, because of the way the investor moved out and how he wrote maybe the agreement with the previous government. So, but you take on all those things and you come into leadership. So the president took over, even if there were a bit of negligence here and there. The issue now is he's working on them in order for the economy of Copper Belt to come on board. So I can see light at the end of the tunnel. And I want to urge the people of Copper Belt to exercise a bit of patience, because this matter, we didn't want as UPND to rush over it, get an investor who is going to go into Mopani and maybe after 2 minutes and whatever days he's out. We want a proper job done, never to run over or to breach the conditions or the agreements that were made with Mopani investors who have left, and also never to start going into courts, international courts over KCM. So the two, there were complications that were there, but I think there is progress now, as you might be aware. The minister should have announced last month, but due to some other unforeseen issues or circumstances, it was not to be. But he's on top of it. Like for me, because I'm chairperson for campaigns and deputy chairperson for campaigns and elections, it is my responsibility to get in touch with ministers, for them to give us feedback on some of the things that they are doing, so that as we interact like this, we are able to explain it. So I'm very much aware that the Minister of Mines is working hard, together with the whole committee. There is a committee, a cabinet committee, or a committee of ministers that are specifically been assigned, I think, on the matter of the two mines. So the Minister of Mines, together with his counterparts, they are working on it. And the people of Copper Belt, I think I know how serious this matter is. And it's out of these two mines that if these two mines start operating, definitely we will have a situation where the lives of our people on the Copper Belt to start improving, despite the situation that we find ourselves having, the cost of living going up, especially meal and other necessities. So we are working to reduce that cost. It would have been worse if we didn't intervene. If President Agaide didn't intervene with his team, the economic team, the Minister of Finance team, to reduce inflation rate, which was almost getting to 25%, going beyond 20% in short. So by reducing the inflation rate, it also reduced the cost of some of these commodities. We went to single digit, but now it's hovering around 10%, 10.2%. But even then, it's within the manageable sphere, or the manageable area, where at least we can say things are working out. If it was not for that, even this cost of the commodities and other things, the cost of living could have gone up. If the current president didn't manage to renegotiate the debt burden that we have right now, to try and reduce, he has done half of it by restructuring the 6.5 billion and remaining with other debt, it would have been worse. But we must thank God for President Hakainde Hichilema, because he moved in quickly. Within 2 years of his tenure in office, he has managed to restructure or to renegotiate this debt and bring it to levels, or to bring it to a level where he's able to pay or stagger his payment and be able to have something that should go for social amenities and otherwise. So without this, it would have been worse. And you know, this is the more reason why we come to Camnet, to come and have an interaction with our people, to explain some of these things. The cost of meal, yes, is high, and I sympathize. I know, I've been in compounds, I've been in villages. When the cost of living is up, it affects quite a lot of people. So the current president, our leadership, the UPND, are not sitting idle, just watching over this. They are looking for solutions. We had a situation before where we had a power deficit the leadership didn't just sit there. The president didn't just sit and start watching power cuts. He started saving from the domestic resources to open up Kafiwe Lower. 750 megawatts is operational now, and is saving us. So he has not only stopped that, in the sector, in the energy sector, I think he has done tremendously well under within these 2 years. You know, there is investment that is coming from Israel, there is investment that is coming from UAE, there is an investment that will come from Qatar. All these are big, big organizations that want to invest in power. And when you have enough power, definitely your economy starts thriving very well. The economy starts growing because we are all much in power. You remember the other time when there was deficits of power, you come here, the genset is running outside, the fuel gets finished, you start again and so forth. It's very disruptive. But that has been done. So all these investments again are coming in because the environment is conducive for people to come in. There is confidence in the international community. There is confidence in the business community for them to bring huge investments like what we have seen so far. Promises and people coming in. Just the other day, I think there was a Chinese firm that is saying they want to come in. So this environment is conducive. The nickel expansion in Lumana, in Kansanshime expansion, Lumana expansion, all these monies are coming in because people feel confident that the leadership which is there won't affect their investment, won't tamper with their investments. And that's what people are looking for. The environment is conducive, no one will hack you, no one will push you around, no one will insult you, no one will come on your farm and say, we are demarcating here and we are sharing. So all those things are long gone and they will never come back. They should never come back to our Zambian people. So that environment is conducive for our people, for the foreigners to continue coming into this country. So it's not only limited to the foreigners, but also to the Zambian people. As they get small grants from CDF, which is now standing at 28.3 million, which is being distributed evenly and equitably. Everyone, regardless whether you are from PF, as a member of parliament from PF, or from MD, from PNUP, or from UPND, this 28.3 million is being distributed equally. And for record, all the vehicles that are meant for monitoring of CDF projects, they have been given to the office of member of parliament. Whether you are opposition or not, that vehicle is being kept at the member of parliament to monitor their project. A thing that never happened before, where you allow the opposition MP to monitor his projects using a government vehicle. This is leadership. This is what we wanted as Zambians, to have a leader who is magnanimous enough to allow other opposition members. Because this is what we created when we wanted multi-party system. We must be able to bear with the systems that we have agreed to. In this case, when you buy vehicles, you are buying for all the constituencies. And if they are monitoring, it be it someone who is opposing your whatever and saying CDF is not doing anything, but is jumping in a CDF vehicle to go and monitor projects and saying CDF is not doing anything, CDF is not working. Yet he's telling the people that, no, we promised you a hospital, we have done from the CDF. So it's quite a lot, it's mouthful, we can talk and talk. There's quite a lot the current leadership, the current president has done. And we are working on the minimum price, on the commodities. That is the work in progress. Very soon, just as people said, no, power situation is very bad, he promised us that there will be no power cuts, there will be no deficit in energy. He worked on it. Energy is now on full throttle. We are coming to commodities to ensure that these commodities are affordable enough for our citizens to have access to them.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Would have loved to go on and on, but this marks the beginning of our conversations. We have quite a number of programs that we keep interacting with you who have been mandated to govern the country, especially so that people can listen to what you are doing to address issues that affect them. This is where we have to call it a day on the Camnet Breakfast. Cozy.
Yes, this has been the Thursday edition of the Camnet Breakfast Show. Do not forget to join Prudence tomorrow when she comes with the business segment of the breakfast show, and we'll be back with Patrick Soko next Thursday. But Monday, Patrick is back with Miriam. So on behalf of the entire production team, have a blessed day ahead of you.